Aha! We have our last question in our review, and it's a question taken from Chapter 8, and it deals with rational numbers or decimal numbers and isolating the variable using distributive property. So it's not that hard a question, and it shouldn't be that difficult to do. So there's two methods like we did with a previous question in our review. We can either use distributive property or division first, and these were methods that were taught back in grade 8. So if we use distributive property, essentially what we're going to do, and I'll just write it out here, is we're going to multiply both terms inside the brackets by 0.5, okay? And we're going to multiply those two to expand the brackets, and 0.5 times 3.2, if you multiply it by that, you actually get 1.6x minus 0.75 equals 8. Okay, so if you use our distributive property, we multiply both of those terms by that, that's what we should get. I probably made a mistake, but whatever. And then we just have an equation that would be no different than if we had 2x plus 1 equals 4. You would subtract 1 from both sides, and then you would divide both sides by 2. The only difference is we have decimals. So get rid of the constant first by adding the opposite, or adding the opposite operation. We get a 0 pair, and we do the same thing over here. We'll have 1.6x equals 8.75. Divide both sides by the coefficient. I'm left with x equals, and then we take our calculator out and go, what is 8.75 divided by 1.6, and it equals 5.5. Let's just be lazy. Approximately equals 5.5. Is that what it was? I have a memory like a peanut. Yes, do 5.5 roughly. We won't bother writing the rest of it. Okay? And if we use division first, the difference with that is it's going to look like this. It's best to maybe look at it in a simpler version first. If I was to look at 2 times x plus 1 equals 8, what we have here is two groups of x plus 1 has a value of 8. So if two groups of x plus 1 has a value of 8, then if I divide this side by 2, I have one group of x plus 1 equals 4. Okay? And that's the idea of division first. If you have, that multiplier outside the brackets here is saying how many of these groups here you have, right? The only difference is that idea doesn't lend itself incredibly well to this particular question in terms of 0.5 times 3.2x minus 1.5 equals 8, but the same operation sense does. So if you have half a group of this, if you divide it by 0.5, you're actually doubling it really. And you're going to end up with 3.2x minus 1.5. And when you divide 8 by a half, dividing by a half is the same thing as doubling, so I end up with, 16 over here. Right? If you use a calculator, don't believe me, 8 divided by decimal 5 gives you 16. 8 divided by 2 gives you 4, but 8 divided by a half gives you 16. I would then add 1.5 to both sides. 0 pair, 3.2 equals 17.5, x. Divide by 3.2. And again, if I take my calculator, hopefully this works, I go 17.5 divided by 3.2 equals the same number I got before, approximately equal to 5.5. Okay, hopefully that review helped everybody, and you're ready for your exam on Monday. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me at wxmacdonald@edu.pe.ca. I'll try and address your questions before Monday, and hopefully you'll do well on your test.